We live in a world obsessed with competition. Everyone wants to be the best number one, standing on the podium. But let me tell you this truth today, being the best is not the real goal of life. The true measure of success is not in being better than others, but in being faithful to your own potential. Doing your best consistently every single day is greater than any medal, trophy, or applause you could ever receive. Because when you do your best, you live fulfillment. Fulfillment is richer than fame. And let me take that first key point and expand it into a powerful, motivational 800-word dialogue style section in the rhythm and tone of Dr. Myles Munroe. No headings or closing sentences, just a flowing, mind-shaking delivery full of examples and inspiration. Everybody wants to be the best. We grow up hearing it. Be the best student, the best athlete, the best in your career. We see the medals, the trophies, the rankings, and we think that's the ultimate measure of greatness. But let me challenge your thinking today. Being the best is relative. It depends on who you're standing next to. But doing your best, that is eternal because it's between you and the potential you carry inside. No one can take that from you. No one can measure it against you. And no one can rob you of the satisfaction that comes when you know deep down, I gave it everything I had. Think about this. The man who wins the gold medal today will have his record broken tomorrow. The singer who tops the charts today will be replaced next month by another voice. The company that is number one in the world today might collapse in 10 years because another company rises up. The so-called best is temporary, fragile, and constantly changing. But your best is eternal because it represents the fulfillment of your personal capacity. That is something no one else can take away. Imagine a student in a classroom. Two students write the same exam. One scores 95, the other scores 70. The world looks at the one with 95 and says, this is the best. But listen carefully. What if the one who scored 70 had the greater victory? Because maybe that student had to overcome fear. Maybe they had to study under a candle because there was no electricity. Maybe they had to push through doubt and distractions just to sit in that classroom. And they gave everything they had. The 70 was their best. And when you give your best, you win. That is success. Your best is not measured by comparison. It is measured by honesty. When you lay your head down at night, only you know whether you gave your maximum effort or whether you held back. That's why being the best will never give you peace because it is controlled by other people. Someone can always come along and do it better. But doing your best gives you peace because you know that you didn't waste your potential. You didn't bury your talent. You didn't hold back what was inside you. That is true greatness. Let me tell you something powerful. The graveyard is full of people who wanted to be the best but never gave their best. They chased recognition but neglected responsibility. They wanted applause but ignored discipline. The world never saw the fullness of what they carried because they measured themselves against others instead of measuring themselves against their own potential. Don't let that be your story. I remember a man who told me, "Doc, I can't be the best in my industry. There are too many giants already ahead of me." I told him, the world doesn't need you to be the best in the industry. The world needs you to bring your best to the industry. That shift changed his life. He stopped competing and he started creating. He stopped copying and he started contributing. And the world began to recognize him not because he beat everyone else, but because he brought his best self to the table. Being the best is a competition. Doing your best is a conviction. Competition wears you out. Conviction lifts you up. When you chase after being number one, you burn yourself trying to outshine people. But when you commit to doing your best, you shine without trying because excellence has a light that cannot be hidden. A mother raising children may never get a gold medal. A teacher shaping minds may never receive a world title. A nurse working long nights may never appear on the cover of a magazine. But when they give their best, history is shaped because the world is not changed by who is the best. It is changed by those who do their best faithfully every day. Let me bring it home for you. If you go to work and say, I want to be the best employee here, you may succeed for a while, but eventually someone else will outdo you. But if you go to work and say, today I will give my best attention, my best ideas, my best energy, you'll never lose because your fulfillment is not tied to who claps for you. It's tied to your own standard of excellence. When you are obsessed with being the best, you live in fear, fear of losing, fear of failing, fear of being replaced. But when you are committed to doing your best, you live in freedom, freedom from opinions, freedom from comparison, freedom from competition, and freedom is where true greatness is born. So here's the truth. You may never be the best in the world, but you can always give your best to the world. And that difference will separate those who are remembered for titles from those who are remembered for impact. You see, one of the greatest dangers in life is comparison. From the moment we are born, society places us on a scale. They measure us against the neighbor's child, against the student sitting next to us, against the colleague in the office, against the celebrity on television. And without realizing it, we begin to live life not from the center of who we are, but from the shadow of who someone else is. Comparison is a silent thief. It steals your joy, it robs you of confidence, and worst of all, it blinds you from recognizing the treasure that is already inside you. Have you ever noticed that when you start comparing yourself, you always feel either inferior or superior? If you see someone doing better, then you start to shrink, you begin to doubt yourself, you begin to believe that your efforts are not enough. But if you see someone struggling more than you, suddenly you get arrogant, you think you are ahead, and you stop growing. In both cases, comparison cripples you. You lose either humility or confidence, but you never gain true progress. That's why the key to life is not looking left or right, but looking within. Imagine a runner in a race. If that runner keeps looking to the side to see who's ahead or behind, what happens? They slow down, they stumble, they lose focus. Sometimes they even fall. But the runner who fixes their eyes on their own lane, on their own stride, on their own pace, that runner moves with strength and rhythm. And in the end, they finish with dignity, whether they cross first or last, because they ran their own race. Life is exactly the same. If you keep looking at who is getting married before you, who bought the house before you, who got promoted before you, who traveled to Paris before you, you'll stumble in your own lane. But when you focus on doing your best in your own season, you will finish strong, and that finish will bring a fulfillment that no trophy can replace. Let me show you how dangerous comparison is with a simple daily example. You wake up in the morning, you feel good, you put on your clothes, you're confident, you're ready to go. Then you scroll through your phone and see someone else dressed better, looking slimmer, living in a bigger house, driving a nicer car, or smiling with their new partner. Suddenly, the joy you had when you woke up disappears. Nothing in your life changed, but because you measured yourself against someone else, you poisoned your own peace. That is the trap of comparison. It destroys gratitude, it kills confidence, and it blinds you to your own progress. Your best has nothing to do with anyone else's journey. Just because someone is ahead of you does not mean you are behind. We don't all start at the same point. We don't all have the same resources. We don't all carry the same battles. Some people are running with shoes. Some are running barefoot. Some are running on smooth roads. Some are running on rocky ground. Some are carrying weights. Others are running light. So how can you measure yourself against them? The only true measure is whether you are giving your best in the lane you have been given. I remember a young man who said to me, "Sir, I'm wasting my time because all my friends are ahead of me. They already have businesses, they are making money, they are traveling the world, and I'm still trying to figure out my path." I told him, don't measure your seed against someone else's fruit. Your time is coming. The seed under the soil looks like nothing compared to the tree already standing tall. But one day that seed will break through, and when it does, it will produce fruit that was never seen before. That young man stopped comparing, and he started investing in his own growth, his own craft, his own lane. Years later, he became a leader in his field, not because he beat his friends, but because he honored his own process. Your best comes from discipline, not from competition. Your best comes from consistency, not from applause. Your best comes from inside, your vision, your values, your effort, not from outside pressure. The problem is we keep looking at someone else's highlight reel and comparing it to our behind the scenes struggles. Social media shows you the victory, but never the battles. It shows you the smile, but never the tears. It shows you the mansion, but never the sleepless nights. And here you are thinking you are failing when in reality, you are exactly where you need to be. If only you would stop comparing and start committing to your best. Do you know what makes an eagle the king of the skies? It never wastes time comparing itself to sparrows or pigeons. It soars at its own altitude. It flies with its own rhythm. While other birds are fighting for crumbs on the ground, the eagle is cruising in the winds. It doesn't compete. It dominates its space. You are the same. You were not designed to live in comparison. You were designed to rise in your uniqueness. So every morning when you wake up, don't ask, am I better than them? Ask, am I better than yesterday's me? Did I grow? Did I stretch? Did I learn? Did I give my best? That question will change your life because it keeps you focused on progress instead of competition. Excellence is not about having everything. It is about using everything you already have. Too many people are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect resources, the perfect connections, and the perfect opportunities before they decide to give their best. But life doesn't reward those who wait for perfect conditions. Life rewards those who take what is in their hands right now and maximize it. Excellence is faithfulness with little. If you cannot be faithful with what you have today, why should life trust you with more tomorrow? Think of a musician with an old guitar. The strings may be worn out, the wood may be cracked, but if that musician plays with passion, skill, and commitment, people will stop and listen. On the other hand, someone else may have the most expensive instrument in the world, but if they play it carelessly, no one will be moved. It is not the tool, it is the heart behind the tool. It is not the resources, it is the responsibility with which you handle them. Excellence is not about abundance, it is about stewardship. Have you ever noticed how some people always complain, if only I had more money, I'd do better? If only I had a bigger platform, I'd succeed. If only I had better opportunities, I'd rise higher. But the truth is, they are not even using what they already have. If you can't manage a 100, you won't manage a 10,000. If you can't treat 5 people with respect, you won't treat 500 people with respect. If you can't run a small vision with diligence, you won't handle a big vision with excellence. What you do with little is the prophecy of what you will do with much. Look around you in daily life. A cleaner sweeping the street can choose to do it carelessly, dragging the broom, leaving dirt behind, complaining that it's just a low-paying job. Or they can choose to do it with excellence, making sure the ground shines, taking pride in their work. The difference is not the broom, it is the mindset. That's why sometimes the person at the bottom inspires us more than the person at the top, because their commitment to excellence with what they have shines brighter than titles. Let me remind you of something powerful. People don't always remember what you had, but they always remember how you handled what you had. A teacher in a small classroom can impact a generation by teaching with passion and diligence, while another teacher in a prestigious school with the best facilities may leave no mark because they never gave their best. A small business owner in a corner shop can build trust, loyalty, and influence through excellent service, while a large corporation can collapse because it neglected the value of excellence. It's not about the size, it's about the faithfulness. Excellence is not perfection. Perfection says, I must never make mistakes. Excellence says, even when I fall, I will get up and give my best again. Perfection is about image. Excellence is about substance. That's why people respect excellence more than they respect titles. They can sense when someone has poured their heart, their mind, their strength into something. You don't need to be the biggest, the richest, or the most famous for people to notice you. What captures people is the spirit of excellence. I once met a young woman who was working as a waitress. She told me she was ashamed of her job because her friends were working in offices and had glamorous careers. I looked at her and said, your job does not define your worth, but your attitude defines your future. If you serve with excellence here, this job will be your training ground for something greater. She took those words seriously. She began to serve every customer with joy, with speed, with respect. Soon her manager noticed, customers noticed, opportunities began to open. Today, she runs her own restaurant, and people wonder how she did it. It was simple. Excellence in the little led to trust with the greater. When you give your best to what is in your hands, you send a message to the world. I am ready for more. Life never promotes you because you complain. Life promotes you because you prove yourself faithful. Excellence is the secret currency that opens doors that money cannot buy. It is the invisible magnet that attracts trust, influence, and opportunity. People are not drawn to mediocrity. They are drawn to excellence. So the question you must ask yourself daily is not, what do I have? But what am I doing with what I have? If you have strength, are you using it? If you have time, are you investing it wisely? If you have ideas, are you executing them or just letting them rot in your mind? If you have relationships, are you nurturing them or neglecting them? Your life expands in proportion to the excellence with which you handle what's already in your possession. Even in nature, the principle holds true. The farmer does not say, I will wait until I have the biggest field before I start planting. No, he takes the small plot he has, tills it with care, plants the seeds faithfully, and in time, the harvest comes. That small harvest becomes the foundation for a bigger one. Step by step, faithfulness grows into fruitfulness. Excellence is not about competing with anyone else. It's about proving to yourself that you did not waste what you were given. It's about waking up each day and saying, today I may not have everything, but I will use everything I have. And when you live like that, life has no choice but to expand your territory. There is a big difference between doing your best and trying to be the best. When you chase being the best, most times your motive is to be seen, to be applauded, to be celebrated above others. It becomes about titles, about image, about recognition. But when you commit to doing your best, your focus shifts from impressing people to improving yourself. Doing your best shapes who you are on the inside, while trying to be the best inflates who you want others to think you are on the outside. One builds character, the other feeds ego. Think about this carefully. Ego always needs validation. Ego wakes up asking, who is watching me today? Who is applauding me? Who is clapping for me? But character doesn't need an audience. Character wakes up saying, did I give everything I had yesterday, and how can I grow today? That's the difference. The athlete who plays only for medals may cheat, may cut corners, may take shortcuts, because their goal is to stand on the podium. But the athlete who plays to give their best will train harder, discipline themselves, sacrifice, and remain humble, because their victory is not in the trophy, but in the transformation of their own spirit. I remember speaking to a young man who worked in a corporate office. He told me, sir, I want to be the best employee here. I want the awards, the promotions, the recognition. I looked at him and said, be careful. If you chase being the best, you will start comparing yourself to others, gossiping about them, tearing them down, because ego thrives on competition. But if you chase doing your best, you will rise naturally, and when the promotion comes, you will carry it with grace instead of pride. A few years later, I met him again. He said, I finally understand. I stopped trying to be the best and I started giving my best. I became more disciplined, more dependable, more focused. And strangely enough, people began to call me the best, not because I chased the title, but because I built the character that sustained it. Character is what you are when no one is watching. Ego is what you try to show when everyone is watching. Ego feeds off claps, but claps fade. Character feeds off consistency, and consistency endures. You cannot build a future on ego. It will collapse under pressure, but when you build a life on character, storms may come, winds may blow, but you remain standing because your foundation is strong. Think about a tree. Ego is like the leaves. It looks beautiful in season, it gets attention, but when the storms come, the leaves fall away. Character is the root. It's invisible, hidden underground, not celebrated, but it is the root that keeps the tree alive in every season. When you focus on being the best, you are decorating your leaves. When you focus on doing your best, you are strengthening your roots. And only roots can sustain greatness. Let me show you how this works in daily life. In school, a student who only wants to be the best may be tempted to cheat, to score higher, to sabotage others, or to only study what will earn them marks. But the student who wants to do their best will develop discipline, focus, and curiosity. One may get the top rank temporarily, but the other builds qualities that will carry them far beyond exams into every area of life. The ego-driven student shines for a moment. The character-driven student shines for a lifetime. In relationships, the same principle applies. Someone who wants to be seen as the best partner will show off, buy gifts just for attention, and create an image to impress others. But when the lights go out, there's no depth. On the other hand, the one who focuses on doing their best, showing kindness, being consistent, listening deeply, sacrificing where needed, builds a relationship on trust and strength. Ego creates attraction, but character sustains love. Even in leadership, the danger of ego is real. Leaders who chase being the best crave titles and power. They demand respect instead of earning it. They want to be feared, not followed. But leaders who focus on doing their best serve with humility, make decisions with wisdom, and carry themselves with discipline. One builds a kingdom of ego that collapses. The other builds a legacy of character that lives long after they are gone. Here's the truth. Ego is loud, but character is powerful. Ego talks, but character acts. Ego competes, but character contributes. And in the end, the world does not remember those who only wanted to be the best. It remembers those who did their best consistently, faithfully, humbly, until their example became a light to others. So when you wake up each day, check your motive. Are you chasing applause or are you chasing growth? Are you feeding your ego or are you building your character? Because one day the applause will stop, the titles will fade, the trophies will gather dust. But the character you built will speak for you when your name is mentioned, and it will open doors long after the crowd has forgotten the sound of your applause. There are people who spend their entire lives chasing fame, thinking that recognition will bring them happiness. That applause will fill their emptiness. That being admired will heal their soul. Yet when they finally climb to the top, they often discover that fame is loud on the outside but silent on the inside. Fame is noisy, but it doesn't silence the noise within. Fulfillment, on the other hand, is quiet, but it brings peace that fame can never buy. Fulfillment is going to bed at night knowing that you lived in alignment with your purpose, that you gave your best, that you stayed true to who you are. And that sense of completeness, that deep satisfaction, is far richer than any spotlight. Think about some of the people society calls successful: celebrities with millions of followers, athletes with gold medals, CEOs with billion-dollar companies. Many of them reach the top and discover loneliness, emptiness, even despair. Why? Because fame gives you attention but not meaning. You can be admired by millions and still feel invisible to yourself. You can be followed by crowds and still feel lost in your own soul. That is why you see people who seem to have it all, but are still depressed, still addicted, still searching. Fame feeds the image, but fulfillment feeds the spirit. Fulfillment comes when you do what you were born to do, whether anyone is clapping or not. It comes from giving your best, not for recognition, but because it's who you are. Imagine a teacher in a rural village who pours her life into her students. She may never trend on social media, she may never win an award, but every day she goes home knowing that she planted seeds in young minds that will grow into future leaders. That's fulfillment. Compare that to someone who trends online for a season but has no impact on anyone's life. The world may know their name, but their soul knows they contributed nothing. Fame is about being known, but fulfillment is about being valuable. Fame is about how many people recognize your face, but fulfillment is about how many lives are better because of your presence. Fame fades with time. One day, the crowd that cheers you will cheer for someone else, but fulfillment lasts because every life you touch becomes a testimony. Every seed you planted grows into fruit that outlives you. A mother who raises her children with love may never be on the front page of a magazine, but the legacy of her care will ripple through generations. A nurse who tends to patients through the night may never stand on a stage to receive applause, but the comfort she brings in the quiet hours of suffering is more valuable than fame could ever be. A young man who works honestly, provides for his family, and remains faithful to his values may never be called a celebrity, but he will sleep with peace that the rich and famous often envy. Fulfillment is greater than fame because it is rooted in purpose, not popularity. Fame depends on the opinion of others, but fulfillment depends on the alignment of your life with your destiny. Opinions change daily, but purpose never changes. Today they may praise you, tomorrow they may cancel you. Today they may celebrate you, tomorrow they may forget you. If your happiness depends on that, you will always be unstable. But when your joy is rooted in knowing that you are fulfilling your purpose, no criticism can crush you and no applause can distract you. Think about an artist who paints not to sell, not to impress, but because painting is their passion. They lose themselves in the colors, in the strokes, in the process. Even if no one ever buys their work, they are fulfilled because they express the gift inside them. Now compare that to an artist who only paints what people want to see, always chasing trends, always worried about likes and sales. That artist may gain temporary fame, but they will lose themselves in the process. One finds peace, the other finds pressure. Even in your own life, you must ask, am I chasing recognition? Or am I chasing meaning? Am I living for the applause of others? Or am I living for the approval of my own soul? The moment you start choosing fulfillment over fame, your life will shift. You'll stop chasing positions you don't even want just to impress people you don't even like. You'll stop exhausting yourself to prove something to people who aren't even paying attention. You'll stop trading your peace for popularity. Instead, you'll start doing work that aligns with your heart. You'll start building relationships that nourish your spirit. You'll start pursuing dreams that give you life even if no one else notices. Fame can make people remember your name, but fulfillment will make people remember your impact. Fame can get you on television, but fulfillment will get you into the hearts of those who were changed by your life. Fame may be loud in a moment, but fulfillment echoes for generations. When you look back on your life, it won't matter how many people clap for you. It will matter how many people are better because you lived. When you make a decision to give your best, you may think it's just about you, your goals, your progress, your journey. But the truth is deeper. Your best has the power to awaken something in others. Excellence is contagious. Dedication is magnetic. Discipline is inspiring. When people see you consistently doing your best, it becomes a mirror that shows them what they are capable of too. Without even realizing it, your actions become a sermon, your consistency becomes a lesson, and your life becomes a message that others cannot ignore. Think about this. When a child watches a parent working hard, being honest, being faithful in small things, that child grows up with a standard etched in their heart. They may not say it, but they are silently absorbing the example. When an employee watches a co-worker give their best, showing up early, working with integrity, refusing shortcuts, it challenges them to raise their own level. Sometimes the greatest motivation doesn't come from words, but from watching someone live with excellence. There are people who will never tell you that you inspire them, but they are watching. They are observing how you handle pressure, how you stay consistent, how you push yourself when it would be easier to quit. They may never clap for you publicly, but privately your life is challenging them to stop making excuses. That's why you cannot afford to hold back. Someone's destiny is tied to your decision to do your best. Think of a student who studies diligently, not to show off, but because they want to grow. Others in the class may laugh, may call them too serious, may even mock their discipline. But silently, some are being convicted, some are being inspired. And years later, when those same students look back, they will remember that one person who set the bar higher just by doing their best. Your diligence plants seeds in the minds of those who watch you. Consider sports. When an athlete breaks a record, suddenly others realize it is possible. For years, the 4-minute mile was considered impossible. Doctors said the human body could not handle it, but when Roger Bannister ran a mile in under 4 minutes, something incredible happened. Within weeks, others began to do it too. What changed? Not their ability, but their belief. One man's best unlocked the best in many others. That is the power of example. In your daily life, you may not realize it, but you are a walking permission slip for others. When you show courage in starting that business, you give someone else permission to start theirs. When you forgive instead of holding on to bitterness, you show someone else that healing is possible. When you stay faithful in your marriage, you show someone else that love can endure. When you rise after failure, you prove to someone else that falling is not the end. Every time you do your best, you silently tell the world, you can too. The world doesn't need more people trying to outshine each other. It needs more people willing to shine with authenticity so others can find their own light. If you dim your best out of fear of judgment, you rob others of the spark that might have awakened their greatness. If you stay average because everyone around you is average, You deprive someone of the chance to see what extraordinary looks like. Don't underestimate the impact of your example. Imagine a family where one person decides to break the cycle, maybe the cycle of poverty, the cycle of broken relationships, the cycle of excuses. That one person decides, I will give my best. I will work hard. I will think differently. I will live differently. That one act doesn't just change their life. It inspires brothers, sisters, children, even generations to follow. Sometimes the courage of one becomes the legacy of many. There are people right now waiting for you to rise so they can believe rising is possible. There are people watching your struggle, waiting to see how you handle it, because your endurance may be the proof they need not to give up on theirs. When you show up with excellence, even when it's hard, you give them strength. You may never know their names, but your life is shaping their future. Your best is not just about achievement, it's about influence. True influence is not found in titles or followers. It is found in the impact of your example. A simple act of diligence, consistency, or excellence can echo louder than any speech. The greatest leaders in history didn't inspire just because of their words. They inspired because their lives embodied the standard. People don't just listen to what you say, they study how you live. That's why every time you give less than your best, you are not only cheating yourself, you are cheating those who could have been lifted by your example. Your laziness tells them it's okay to settle. Your excuses give them permission to give up. But your excellence raises their vision. Your faithfulness strengthens their hope. Your consistency whispers to them, keep going. If they can, I can too. The truth is, you are not just living your life, you are leading someone else's by example. And the greatest gift you can give the world is not to be the best compared to others, but to do your best so that others find the courage to do the same. Life is not asking you to outshine anyone. Life is asking you to outshine yourself. The real competition has never been between you and your neighbor, between you and your colleague, between you and the person on the stage. The only race that truly matters is the one between who you are right now and who you have the potential to become. Every day you wake up, you are handed a brand new opportunity to prove to yourself that you can do better, that you can rise higher, that you can stretch further. And the truth is this, when you choose to do your best, you automatically rise above the majority who are content with average. The world is filled with people chasing applause, chasing validation, chasing trophies that rust and fade. But I tell you today, the greatest applause you will ever hear is the quiet voice inside of you saying, well done. You gave it everything. The loudest cheer you will ever experience is the peace that comes when you know you left nothing on the table. Because success is not measured by the noise outside, it is measured by the fulfillment inside. Think about it. The tallest mountain doesn't compete with the others. It simply grows to its full height. The sun doesn't argue with the stars. It simply shines in its season. The ocean doesn't compare itself to the river. It simply flows to its full capacity. And yes, you were designed to rise, to shine, to flow, not in comparison, but in completion of who you were created to be. That is the meaning of doing your best. There will always be someone stronger, smarter, richer, or faster, but no one can ever be you. No one else carries your exact gift, your exact fingerprint, your exact assignment. That means when you do your best, you are irreplaceable. When you do your best, you become unforgettable. When you do your best, you step into a realm where competition is irrelevant because authenticity has no rival. Every time you hold back, every time you settle, every time you choose comfort over commitment, you rob the world of the light only you can bring. But every time you step up, every time you give your best, every time you push when it would be easier to quit, you ignite something in the atmosphere. People may not clap immediately, they may not notice right away, but your diligence creates ripples. And those ripples will reach places you may never even see. The graveyard is the wealthiest place on earth because it is filled with unfulfilled dreams, unwritten books, unsung songs, unstarted businesses, unlit potential. Don't let your name be counted among them. Be empty. Leave everything on the field of life. Pour out your best in every season, in every role, in every opportunity. Let it be said of you, this one never held back. Remember, this greatness is not in having a title. It is in having testimony. And testimony is not built by being the best. It is built by doing your best consistently, relentlessly, unshakably. That is how ordinary people become extraordinary, not because they were born with more, but because they decided to give more of what they already had. So let this be the declaration you carry from this day forward. I will no longer live in the prison of comparison. I will no longer chase the fleeting crown of being the best. I will commit my life to excellence. I will commit my strength to faithfulness. I will commit my days to giving my best. And in the end, I will live full and die empty. Stand tall in your lane. Run with everything you have. Work not for applause, but for purpose. Love not for recognition, but for authenticity. Build not for show, but for legacy. For when the lights go out, when the crowd goes home, when the noise of fame is faded, only one thing will matter. Did you give your best?